I never did. I think it's I think the reason it's
Okay, this meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. Go ahead and start with Roman numeral 1, oath of office to new board members.
We have a special treat tonight. We've got Montgomery County Prosecutor Matt Heck to deliver the oath of office to Tyson Dillon.
right where you're at is good. You up there? Sure, I'll right out here. I'll see you. Go ahead.
I appreciate being here tonight, and just a few comments. It's awfully nice to see, first of all, the number of people that attend your board meetings. I'm sure it's all positive and all good on every meeting, so that's a nice thing. But it's not always that way at Northmont, where I am, but you know, we don't always have this many people showing up. But I want to congratulate Tyson and Lauren and their family on his election to the school board. I think it's nice, first of all, that you have a graduate who's going to be on the school board here, and I think he said it was 56, right, when you graduated? That's what I heard, I don't know, but it's not that you're on here, and I want to commend you for having the interest and caring about the community that you do to run the school board, as well as all of you who are on the school board. As I mentioned earlier, it's one of the, I think, most thankless jobs you can have is being on the school board, because unfortunately, so many times, and I don't have to tell you this, you hear, you know, about the things that people think are wrong or that you can do better without them sitting here on the board. And you don't often hear about the things that you do so well. And it's such an important job. And you hear about other jobs in the community or in the state or whatever. But this is really where it all begins, and that's just your school board, where you're dealing with obviously our most important people, our children. And so I just want to commend you, and I want to congratulate you for running and being elected to the school board. So are you ready to be sworn in? Okay, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Tyson Dillon.
I, Tyson Dillon.
Hereby solemnly swear.
Hereby solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of Ohio.
And the Constitution of the State of Ohio.
And that I will faithfully and impartially.
And that I will faithfully and impartially.
Discharge my duties.
Discharge my duties.
As a member.
As a member.
Of the Board of Education.
Of the Board of Education.
Of the Valley View Local School District.
Of the Valley View Local School District.
Montgomery County, Ohio.
Montgomery County, Ohio.
To the best of my knowledge and ability.
To the best of my knowledge and ability.
And in accordance with.
And in accordance with.
The laws now in effect.
The laws now in effect.
And hereinafter.
And hereinafter.
To be enacted.
Enacted.
During my continuance in said office.
During my continuance in said office.
And until my successor.
And until my successor.
Is elected and qualified.
Is elected and qualified.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Heck. Congratulations. Felish the ballot. So if you want to, can you raise your right hand? Great. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as a member of the Board of Education of Valley View Local School District, Montgomery County, Ohio, to the best of your ability? and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuance in said office until your successor is elected and qualified. Congratulations.
Moving along, Roman numeral number 2, Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Dillon?
Here.
Ms. Griffith? Here. Mr. Rudd?
Here.
Mr. Skidmore?
Here.
Dr. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Miller? Here. Mr. Kinder?
Here.
Roman numeral number 3, President Pro Tem will call meeting to order. Roman numeral number 4, organization of the board of 2024. A, election of officers. Number 1, election of president. Do I have a motion?
I move to nominate him.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie?
The election of the vice president. Nominations.
I nominate Dr. Smith.
I second that.
Any discussion? Do we just go ahead and place a vote for each separate?
Yes. Yes, please. Each separate. Mr. Dillon?
This is
Yes.
the first one.
This would be for
This
president.
is for president.
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
And Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Very good. And the nominations, let's open the nominations for vice president, please. Make motion.
We just-
Bob nominated Stephanie.
Vice president.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's,
Oh, no, yeah.
I thought Stephanie was.
that's what she asked, wasn't it, Vice President?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to do over.
Okay, I'll nominate Dr. Smith for Vice President.
Vice president.
I second that.
Okay. So Bob Skidmore, vice president, and Tim Rudd for vice president, and then nominating, well, yes, I got that. We had opened it for president. I think we need to do president first.
We did.
I think we just did.
And that was Stephanie, right?
That was me.
You can do it over again if you'd like.
No, we have it on video.
Let's just so we're clean, let's do it over.
Okay. So,
You want to make a nomination for president?
Sure. I nominate Tim Rhodes for president.
Do we have a second? Any discussion?
Now we need to call the roll for president.
okay, Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore? Yes. And Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Okay. Then the vice president, please, so we have, just start over.
I nominate Dr. Smith.
That's, okay.
I second his motion to appoint Dr. Smith.
Any discussion? Valerie, you call the roll?
Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
And Dr. Smith?
Yes.
All right, Roman numeral 7B, set time, date, and place for regular meetings. I make a motion that we meet the second Monday of every month unless there's a holiday and that we do it at 6 o'clock. Do we have a second to that effect? Any discussion? Valerie, call the roll.
Yes. Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral number 5, bond set for treasurer at $50,000. Someone make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 6.1, these are resolutions adopting treasurer's standing authorization for calendar year 2024. 6.1, treasurer is hereby authorized by the Board of Education to request advance payment of taxes collected as funds are available in accordance with section 321.34 of the Ohio Revised Code. Would someone make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 6.2, treasurer is hereby authorized to make appropriation modifications between fund accounts, with these modifications being reported to the board. I'll make a motion to that. Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 6.3, treasurer is authorized to pay all bills within the limit of the received and when merchandise has been certified as received for its designee. I'll make a motion to that effect. Do we have a second? Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7, this deals with resolutions adopting the superintendent's standing authorization for calendar year 2024. 7.1, a resolution naming superintendent as purchasing agent for 2024. I'll make a motion to that effect. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7.2, resolution authorizing superintendent to accept resignations. I'll make a motion to that effect. Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7.3, resolution authorizing superintendent to hire staff between board meetings. Make a motion to that effect. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7.4, this is the student disciplinary suspensions, as named superintendent's designee in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, section 3313.66D and policy 5611. The board hereby appoints superintendent as its designee for purposes of hearing and deciding appeals of student disciplinary suspensions. We have further resolved that the decision of the superintendent may be appealed under chapter 2506 of the Revised Code. I will make a motion to that effect. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
And Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 8, approving the following legal firms to handle legal activities on behalf of the Board of Education at discretion of the board, the superintendent, or the treasurer. Those firms identified are Bricker and Graydon, Ennis Britton Co. LPA, and Frost Brown Todd. I'll make a motion to that effect. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 9, recommend the board approve the annual membership to the Ohio School Board Association for 2024. Do we have a motion to that effect?
The motion.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 10, appointments. We need to appoint a student achievement liaison, legislative liaison for OSBA, and a delegate for Capitol Conference. I don't want to point a finger at you, but you did a great job as our student achievement liaison. Is that something you're interested in doing? So I would nominate Dr. Smith as our student achievement liaison. Do we have a second for that?
Second.
Any other nominations? Any discussion? Valerie, call the roll?
Mr. Dillon? Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 10 still, legislative liaison for OSBA. To be honest, I've always thought that Joe's done a really good job giving us updates as to the legislation. And so this is a really easy job, and so I'm happy to do it. And so I'm going to nominate that. If somebody else wants it. If somebody else really wants it, it's all yours. You want it, Tyson? Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
We need to then identify a delegate and alternate for the Capitol Conference. Anybody in particular interested in doing that?
So just for what this means, what this is about?
No.
How you-
And I have not attended the meeting for that, but every November, there's a conference in Columbus, of the Capitol Conference. And you will be serving as the alternate or delegate to represent Valley View at that conference.
to be able to place a vote for any issues that come
For
up.
the School Board Association.
The voices out.
Yeah, and the district covers the expenses to send folks to that if they're interested in doing
Yes.
that. If anybody really,
Happy.
okay, Tyson, you're interested in being a delegate? Anybody want to be the alternate?
I'll be the alternate.
Definitely be the
Unless, Bob?
If you don't want to, I
I
will.
heard it was really fun.
I had a lot of fun with my
Yeah. Okay, and so we have Tyson as the delegate and Dr. Smith as the alternate. I'll make a motion that we appoint the two. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
All right, that adjourns our organizational meeting. We will jump right into our,
And can we have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
And Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Thank you.
And is there each? And now's not a good time for before executive session. Thank you.
Do we need to do anything before we start the next session?
No, we'll do that before we go to executive session. We'll have photo.
Sure. All right, this meeting, that concluded our organizational meeting. This is our January regular meeting. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in agenda item 3. Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Here. Mr. Rudd?
Here.
Mr. Skidmore?
Here.
And Dr. Smith?
Here.
Roman numeral 2, let's stand together for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we go on to Roman numeral number 3, I am going to make a motion that we amend the agenda. I have, and if you'd like to speak during public participation, there are forms available. Right now, I
On
only
the
have,
piano table or on the piano seat.
right now, I only have 2 forms, and both of them relate to discussion concerning the Farmersville building. And since people took the time to come out to discuss the Farmersville building, I would like to have an agenda item on here so that the board will discuss what you all tell us about the Farmersville building in real time so that you're getting the attention you deserve. So I'm going to make a motion that we amend the agenda to, under Roman numeral 7, make a 7 a new business, make a 7B, just general discussion of Farmersville building issues.
This would be 7D.
7D, I'm sorry. Did I say B? Lost my education. Well, someone, I made a motion to that effect. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
All right, Roman numeral 3A. Recognitions and communications. We have Carl Keith, Montgomery County Auditor, to speak on the issue of property taxes.
You ready for me?
Yes, sir.
What do you want to know? Are you all here to talk about Farmersville Church?
Yes.
So you're not here to talk about their property tax?
Just wanted to clarify, yeah, before I got stated, they would have broke out the
I tried to call you all day.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to all of you this evening about this year's triennial update. I spent much of the past year talking to groups about the triennial update. Saw the library director here. We did a session out at the Germantown Library one time during the summer. So I did about 80 presentations over the summer. So I'm glad to do this. I know every time we do an update, it causes a lot of confusion and questions and concerns for people. But this one is particularly unique because of the housing market, and real estate values have skyrocketed all across the country, certainly all across Ohio and in our community, the levels that we've never seen before. So with this year's update, the state has recommended that we raise residential values by 37% and commercial values by 13%. After doing our analysis and negotiating with them, we got a little bit of a break on that. So residential values countywide went up 34%, and commercial values went up 12% when it was all said and done. Now in Germantown, I looked, I think in Germantown and in German Township, we were at 33%. So it really varies across the county, across communities, depending on what the housing market has done in your community, what the number of sales and what properties are selling for, because that's what's dictating our adjustments in value. One thing with this year's update, we got a lot of data to use. We had record number of sales in the year before. This year, the 22, the sales dropped a little bit, but they were still well above 10,000 valid sales countywide, which would have been a record if it hadn't been for the sales in 21. So we had a lot of data that we use, and it's those sales that are dictating the changes that we've made. I'm assuming people have received letters from my office with their final values. And those are final. You can also go on our website if you haven't. You can also go on our website, and the values that are on our website are final, and also the tax rates are final. We have the tax rates in from the state, and so you can look and see what the taxes are. Because one thing that's important to keep in mind is, in general, a 34%, and again, that's an average, so some communities went up a lot more than that, some lower than that, but in general, a 34% increase in value does not equal a 24 or a 34% increase in taxes. It doesn't work that way in Ohio. There are things in place that prevent that from happening. Now, it's a little bit different in communities like the Valley View School District and in the Miamisburg School District, and this year also in the New Lebanon School District, because we have a little thing we have to deal with called the 20 mil floor. So generally, when we do an update like this, the change in taxes are only computed on the first 10 mils of a property. So we said, based on that, even though values were going up double digits, 34, some places it went up 40, 50%. We were looking at, on average, the taxes actually going up between 4 and 6%, and that's pretty well held. But in places where you have to deal with the 20 mil floor, it's higher than that, because you have to deal with the portion of that 20 mils, which is guaranteed to your schools. That 20 mils is guaranteed, and so because of that, it works just like the 10 mils. So the portion of the 20 mils for the school district, the taxes are 1-to-1. So places like Miamisburg and Valley View, you're looking at maybe a 10 to 14% on average increase. Again, some will do higher and some will do lower. But that's where we are with it, and we've got the bills aren't out yet. The bills will be going out soon. I think the due date is the 16th. Is that right, Kevin? Kevin Stiles from my office. February 16th will be the due date. We are in the period where people can file appeals. So we started that between January 1st and March 31st. You can file an appeal with the auditor's office with the Board of Revision. Again, you go on our website, or if you go to mcohio-bor-/org, I think, or something like that. You go on our website, you'll see where you can file an appeal, and you get the instructions and hints on how to do that. the form. So you have until March 31st this year. March 31st is on a Sunday, so you have till April 1st to file an appeal with the Board of Revision if you don't agree with your value, and go through that process. And we encourage people to take advantage of it.
Thank you, sir.
Questions?
I appreciate it. It's very important.
All right. Thanks. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Thank you all.
Mr. Van Zyl, did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
I'll speak a moment on the nomination process for library trustees. I think this issue has been brought up by the school board in the past a few times. So under section 3375.15, the Valley View School District is the appointing authority of the Germantown Public Library Board of Trustees, which means this board is obligated to appoint our trustees. We have a 7-member board appointed by you. Historically, we have made a nomination to the school board, and the board can reject, accept, deliberate, what have you. I think there were some concerns on our nomination process and how we do that. I have an advertisement for our trustee opening that we have currently. I don't know if anybody would like to read that. I can pass this around. It shows some of the legal obligations of the trustees, and how we advertise for those. When we have a group of candidates, our board will usually interview them or look over resumes, those types of things. And then our board makes an official nomination to your board to appoint. Now, it's the prerogative of this board to appoint or, again, deliberate. Historically, and in multiple other library districts, excuse me, that process has been done by precedent to maybe limit, not necessarily limit, but you guys have more important things to do, or historically that's been what has been communicated. So if this board would like to renegotiate or provide me with some information on our nomination process and how we can help you guys make a nomination quicker and under all the legal guidelines that fulfills what you all need to do, I'll certainly listen to that. As of now, we do make that nomination based on precedent to kind of move things along. And again, historically, in this school district and in others, it has been a rubber stamp. And again, that is not necessarily something that we're beholden to, and it's certainly it's the prerogative of this board to choose that nomination process, because you guys are the ones that do that nomination. So I can go over real quickly. We do advertise. Usually we get a slate of candidates. We interview based on usage of the library, ideas, a resume usually, and we do make a nomination. So if there's any questions on that, or like to, I don't know if we can come up with a solution right this moment, but I'll certainly answer any questions or concerns that you guys have, so we can make the nomination process smooth and we move on with our business. You guys feel comfortable with the nomination.
How many, on average, if you can give me this answer, how many applicants do you get for one of these positions?
We usually have very few. I think we very rarely had, we've had vacancies for times, maybe 2, maybe 3.
Yeah, and where is the vacancy advertised?
We advertise on our website. Usually we'll put a legal notice in the paper. We can submit that to you guys in the future.
Do you have any data on like the traffic of how many people are checking out the website?
I
wouldn't expect you to have it.
Sure, I can get that, but that's what our process is now. Again, any adjustment in that, we're certainly willing to look into that.
Thank you, Greg.
You just asked the two questions I had.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you. All right, thanks, I appreciate it. Mr. McKee.
Right here. Real fast. See if we can make it work. So I'm Mr. McKee, high school principal here at Valley View High School. I'm joined by Andy Berry, who's our assistant principal. Also be turned on my phone. And we just wanted to come, we've been working on this for about a year and a half now, and we've been looking at how we recognize our kids. So at the high school, we're starting to talk to these kids a lot about the 4 E's, which we talk about employment, enlisting, enrolling, and now entrepreneurship is one that's kind of trendy. We talk to our kids about all these different ways that they leave high school and go on to be successful. We want to look at our, well, not me, Sonic. We want to look at how we're recognizing our seniors. So that's kind of where this is all coming from. So if this comes, okay.
Select HDMI.
What was that?
You select HDMI.
Maybe.
There's the home, the HDMI.
Come on.
Try to. HDMI 2. She said try HDMI 2.
2? Okay, it looks like there's nothing plugged in, but I'm assuming that's a little glued up. So. We'll try 3. Do you want me just to go forward with it? Do you want me, if not everyone's seeing it?
What are you most comfortable with?
I don't mind talking about it. You just did something. So like I said, we've been working on this for about a year and a half, and this is our current system right now. We operate with the valedictorian and salutatorian. It's all based off of a student's GPA after their 7th semester of high school. So after next week, we will be looking at this year's senior class, and we'll be looking at their Val-Sal GPA. And all it is their highest GPA is your valedictorian, second is salutatorian. And this is our current grading scale, and then also how GPAs are earned. So kids can get a higher GPA if they get an A in an AP or a CCP course versus just taking a regular course. Honors courses are there kind of in the middle. So that determines right there how a kid kind of lines up, so to speak, in terms of their senior honors. That's our current system. I also have down here information about other schools and what they're doing. I can tell you that Centerville has already made a change that I'm going to talk about here tonight. Bellbrook has made a change and actually kind of does a little bit of both. Milton Union just made the change this year. Tip City and Miamisburg are just a couple other schools in our area that are already making this change to go to a cum laude honor system. So with that being said, this is actually a quote from Adam, I always butcher his last name and I apologize, Adam Cicerello from Centerville. He is their curriculum director at the secondary level. And they did some research and we talked to him ahead of time, and he said what they started to see is kids not willing to collaborate because they were in such competition to get a higher GPA. And that concerned me right away because I feel that's the absolute opposite of anything that we need for our students right now and anything we're preparing them for in the future. So that's kind of where it all started. So then last year, and this is the class of 2023 students, we did an interview. We pulled the top 5 students in the class at this time, and we just asked them some questions. Do you see kids here at Valley View who are not willing to collaborate because of this Val-Sal competition, let's call it? Do we see kids not taking classes? And just to kind of summarize this, and I know it's kind of small, students here feel that we are not seeing that unwillingness to collaborate. But what we are seeing is kids not taking classes that maybe they're interested in because they're chasing that higher GPA. They're taking these courses not because of interest, not because of future planning, but because they want that 5.0 scale of a CCP course so they can try to be in line for valedictorian. That was more so the trend of students here at Valley View. We also had a couple kids tell us that once that 7th semester hits and that GPA is locked in, 2nd semester of senior year, that's when they wanted to drop classes. They wanted to do those things because now they knew their valedictorian status is already set, whether they earned it or not, and now they want to kind of relax a little bit for their 2nd semester. So moving forward, we had a committee this year, and we met a couple times, and it was made up of myself and Mr. Berry, our 2 guidance counselors here at the high school, and then a couple parents. And we just sat down and we talked. What does it look like? A cum laude honor system, which I'll talk more about here in a second, and our current Val-Sal honor system. And you can kind of see here, this is just our brainstorming. The 7 of us, the 8 of us that were in the room, this is kind of where we started. We talked about the pros and the cons of a Val-Sal status. I will say this one's huge. We do see a lot of kids taking on an unhealthy workload their senior year, junior year, just because they're trying to chase that high GPA. We're multiple students right now at the high school who are at a point after the 1st semester who are like, I bit off more than I can chew. I'm swamped. What can I do right now to make it a little bit better on myself? And then we talked about the cum laude honor system. And long story short, the cum laude honor system, you set bars, and if a kid meets that bar, they've earned that honor. Whereas the valedictorian, some years our highest GPA is a 3.46, some years it's a 3.38. These kids don't know what bar they're chasing to try to get a valedictorian status. Where in the cum laude system, you set it already. So that's kind of a basic understanding. This is actually what colleges use a lot. So then we did a survey with our community, and we sent it out to anybody in the last 10 years, staff and students, parents and students. And these are the results that we received back from that. I won't go into a lot of detail because we did ask 8 or so questions to both of them, but I can talk more about it if anyone would like to afterwards. So what we're discussing and what we're hoping to do is move Valley View High School to a cum laude honor system. The research behind just in general cum laude tells you that summa cum laude, which is the highest praise, should be roughly your top 5% of your students every year. And then magna cum laude should be that next 5 to 15%, and then your cum laude system should be about the top 20 to 30%. So that's what the research says behind just, like I said, a general system. So what we're talking about here, and we ran some numbers, and I'll talk about that here in a second, but I guess why first? What we're hoping to accomplish is just clear expectations and guidelines for our kids. If Carson knows that he wants to be in summa cum laude, that highest honor, as a freshman, he knows that he needs his GPA to be this, and that's it. He knows it as a freshman coming in, where he needs to be, and if that's what his goal is, we can help guide his track of what classes should he take to allow him to reach that goal, but also allow him to take classes of interest and not just overwhelming himself with CCP and AP courses. We also want to recognize more students. The Career Center right now is better than ever, I think. We're encouraging kids to go there because they're preparing kids. However, we want to make sure we're honoring and including those kids as well. And the Val-Sal system, those kids are never going to ever meet that qualification. Just because they don't have the same number of classes and the same number of opportunities at the AP and CCP level, because half their day is in a lab of whatever their career pathway is in. So they don't even have that same opportunity. Once again, we wanted to encourage more collaboration amongst our kids, more opportunities for our kids to take meaningful classes and classes they're interested in. We're excited to bring in a business class next year. A lot of kids are going into business as they leave Valley View High School. It might not be a weighted class. I would hate for kids not to take a class of interest or future use because it's not on that 5.0 scale. So here's what we're proposing. We took the numbers from the last 3 graduating classes, so the class of 23, 22, and 21, and we broke them down. We looked at where is our 5% mark, Where is our 15% mark, and so on and so forth for those different levels. What we're going to propose, and then we're going to ask for this next month to the school board, but we are proposing these 3 levels. I'm going to try to get out of your way so you can see. But summa cum laude would be anyone with a 4.4 GPA or higher. If you have that GPA, that's about our top 5% over the last 3 years. Magna would be a 4.2 to 4.39, and then the cum laude would be anyone in the 4.0 to 4.19. We're still holding our kids to high standards. You can see here the lowest honor is still a 4.0. And that's actually, this is higher than any other school that's implemented it. Those 5 schools I mentioned before, but once again, we ran the numbers specific to the last 3 graduating classes, and this puts our kids at the top 5% honoring at the summa cum laude level, so on and so forth, which is why we selected those numbers. What we're hoping to do is that this would be after the 8th semester. So we take away that 7th, and this is the piece that all the other schools are doing. Some of this information here, we're kind of stealing from other schools, their thoughts. After the 8th semester, this is when these honors would be met. So that last week or so when the seniors leave, that's when our counselors would be going over GPAs and they would be looking at all this, and then we could be looking at it and saying, all right, Carson, you are going to be a summa cum laude because you have a 4.4 GPA or higher. It would not be after the 7th semester like the current ballot in South recognition. Students, if they are honored, or sorry, I missed a bullet point here. Kids would have to be here for the last 4 semesters of their high school career. That's pretty traditional across the board, anyone that's going into a system like this. And then kids, if they are recognized, would be wearing a hood, which, long story short, over your graduation gown, it just kind of comes down on the side. I've actually got them, I believe, back there on my chair, just mock-up, so to speak, of what they might look like. School board members, I'll let you guys take a look. I just got one of each, so if you want to take a look at them, that's what they could look like for us. Kids would be honored and would wear those at their graduation ceremony. For the next 3 years, we would like to kind of transition, and our plan is to recognize both over the next 3 years. So the classes of 24, 25, and 26, we would actually still have a val and style, but then we would also have this cum laude. We're trying to figure out a way to transition this out without just doing it immediately. And then starting with this year's freshman, which is the class of 2027, we would move completely to a cum laude system. So yes, we can implement it right now. And Carson's a senior sitting right here. We can implement it for him and his classmates. However, they would still be honored kind of at both levels. And the same thing with Ella as a junior. She's in the class of 2025, will still be honored at both levels. But then with this year's freshman, we would go completely to the cum laude honor system. And then here's the numbers. I should have put that first. Over the last 3 years. So what this says in the class of 2023, which was 115 students, we would have had 10 students at this 4.4 GPA, which was 8.7%. We would have had 13 students total in this, or sorry, additional 13 students in here, which is a total of 20%, and then the cum laude puts us at 28%. So you can see over the last 3 years, if we have that 4.4, we're looking at 8.7, 2.3, and 5.4%. So we are right on average about in that 5% range, and that's what the colleges are saying, and so on and so forth. The other thing I'll mention about colleges is one of the questions we have for ourselves: will this hurt our students in any type of college acceptance, college scholarships? And what we're being told, and we talked to Wright State, we've talked to University of Dayton, and we've talked to Miami, and all of them have said no. Wright State was the last school around that was doing a full ride scholarship for any valedictorian in Montgomery County. They have now transitioned away from that and are looking more so at other things. So it would not hurt any of our students if we went to the cum laude, if they're not the valedictorian, if they're just in this summa cum laude category. So, any questions? Yes.
So if you put this into place and some students decide to take a lower weighted class,
Yes.
would these numbers drop and would we have less opportunity for kids to achieve any of these honors?
So, and I'm just gonna go
In
back
other
to
words, I'm
our,
wondering if your bar is set a little too high now, if in fact you're really hoping that students will take a lower weighted class.
yep. Looking at this, you're right. A student would not be able to take just what I'm gonna call them regular courses, their entire 4 years and get into the cum laude honor system of 4.4. However, as long as they're achieving an A in a regular course, they could still get into that cum laude honor system. So yes, it is going to require kids to take some type of upper level course. Maybe that's just an honors course, maybe that's AP, maybe that's CCP level courses.
Which I think you answered, my next question was, if you're taking a traditional math class versus an honors math class, they're weighted differently though.
Correct, yes, they're weighted
Kids are
differently.
rewarded based on
Yep.
the effort that they put in.
And that's another thing, is we were hoping that maybe this would encourage kids to challenge themselves. Because let's say taking an AP course or a CCP, you can get a B in that course and still have a 4.0 GPA, or taking just the regular course and you have to get an A to receive the 4.0 GPA. Any other
Question
questions?
if I'm allowed to ask
Are
one?
we allowed to go public?
Yeah, we'll probably keep it within reason.
Okay,
Yeah, so my question is that GPA weighted or they're unweighted?
so the GPAs for the honors recognition is weighted GPAs.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then my second question is, you said it won't affect universities. Will it affect Valley View kids' ability to get into the, it's the Ohio Governor's Scholarship for their top 5%? Will it?
it will not, we still have all that data. Like, we're not just discontinuing our top 5% and all that information. So students will always still be able to go to their counselor and receive that information. We're just moving away from that's what we're honoring in our senior class.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go
Okay, you were saying for the starting class of 2027, they would not fall between the vows out and the, they would be separate, they would just be straight.
Yeah,
The
so,
vows out.
yeah, starting with the class of 2027, our proposal would be, instead of having both Val Sal and cum laude, they would only have cum laude.
Is there a reason that you can't offer both?
You can, however, me personally, I think this is more clear, because now I can go to our freshmen and say, hey, if you want to be rated in this category, so to speak, if that's a goal of theirs, as a freshman, as a whatever grade, here's your goal. Whereas trying to guide a freshman to be the valedictorian, I don't know, because it could change every year. Like I said, some years our valedictorian will have a 3.52 GPA because of the number of weighted classes they've taken. Some years it could be a 3.38. It just depends on that class. Yeah, oh, sorry.
So, I guess kids are applying now through the Common App.
Yes,
So I guess my question is, I know you talked about colleges are transferring to this, but how are they gonna interpret our version of our honor system? Everybody knows what a valedictorian is.
yep,
Why don't we have 12 valedictorians so that they're all available for scholarship money?
yep. So to kind of two-part question there, how are they gonna interpret this?
Right.
When I talked to a couple of those colleges that I mentioned earlier, they told me that like, Bill, this is becoming the tradition, or this is becoming more standard.
Okay.
We're very comfortable with.
Those are like locally, like globally though.
Yes,
Is
yes.
just our colleges transferring to a Latin honor system?
Yeah, I mean, that's what all your colleges are now recognizing, is your cum laude honor system. I have not talked to a college in California, and I know we last couple years have had some kids go out there, but to say I've had a conversation with those schools directly, I have not.
Is that gonna hurt our kids? You know,
Looking
for
at
a valedictorian, is there scholarship and money built in for a valedictorian versus cum laude?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, schools are going away from the here scholarship money just for your valedictorian. Now the scholarship money is coming from GPA, community service, those types of things that we're already doing a really good job of.
So you'll be looking for, board action on this proposal?
In February, yeah.
I have a question.
Yes,
So let's say they're taking an honors, like math class,
yeah,
you know, like 1 year, but let's say maybe they decide next year, the next level math might be too difficult, so they want to do something else on, how does that, are they gonna have to stick with the same subject?
No, every year's different. So the way we do it, that's kind of a scheduling piece. There's teacher recommendations that happen on a yearly basis. Where do we recommend this kid go to next? Is it staying in that honors pathway? Is it, maybe that was a little too challenging, maybe we need to drop down? So we have conversations with our kids and our teachers every year about what we suggest is best for our students.
I think he said this already, but I just want to make sure. You want to give the students a number to shoot for, is why I'm here.
Yes, it's a clear cut. I mean, if you have a 7th grader and they want to be as high as honor, you can tell them that here's the goal.
So I just wondered if there was any consideration of kids saying, okay, the top 5%, whatever it is, makes the top level.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we liked this, because it's just clear cut and dry, like here's the goal. Whereas once the top 5%, I can't tell you right now what that GPA is gonna be, just because it could change every class.
I just wondered because you said this was higher than most other schools.
Yes. Yeah, most other schools are dropping this cum laude. Now, the one thing that's consistent is everyone's having an equal differentiation there between the numbers. But other schools are dropping this cum laude number down to, I've seen everything as low as 3.5. I've seen it 3.7, I want to say, 3.75 were a couple of their schools, and I can't remember which one off the top of my head. One of the schools had this all the way down to a 3.5. We do that now, we're starting to honor 40% of our senior class and so on and so forth. So we were trying to look at those percentages. Yeah, Chris.
So me and you have kind of talked about this a little bit, but I kind of just wanted to clarify, like, so when we're applying to college, we go on the Common App, it asks us for our class rank. It doesn't ask about that, which I was assuming, just for clarification, that if we went to the counselor, that would still be available to us, right? So yeah, so like when we're applying for scholarships and they ask that, like, it's not like we won't be keeping track of it or anything. It'll still be there.
Correct.
And we can still have access to that.
Yep. Okay. That's just a report that our counselors can run.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
If you drop it down to like a 3.8, what percentage do you think will we have at Valley View?
If I had to just kind of give a guess, 32-ish, somewhere in there probably.
I'm really happy to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, our GPAs are relatively high for our senior classes. Yeah. And we actually, and I can get it to anybody that's interested, whether a community member, board member, we actually took the other schools' setup and we actually put our own students into it. And that was part of our discussion as well. Like if we stole, let's say, Centerville's, here's what it would look like. Their GPAs, here's how many kids would get into each category at Valley View. And I can share that with you if you'd like.
I just worry about the mental health piece. I've dealt with a lot of patients who are really stressed out.
Yep.
You know, if they have some type of illness and they're worried about missing their classes and they're, you know, taking all top level classes and missing one day can just totally derail the train.
Yep.
And they all lose their mind over it.
Yep.
And so I really worry about the mental health piece too.
Absolutely.
So I like that you're trying to get kids interested in taking other types of classes that may be more applicable to their future, and not just chasing that GPA.
Absolutely.
But at the same time too, I just questioned maybe those numbers might be just slightly high. I look at the GPAs for this system at the college level and that's higher.
Yep, absolutely it is. I agree. All right. Oh, sorry.
One last question.
Oh, yeah.
The timeline, can you go back, so you said the two differences between Salvo and this is 7, right? It goes to the full.
Oh, it goes, you're talking for the year, it goes to the entire 8th semester of their high school.
How does that affect kids as they're applying for college? It doesn't?
So when they're applying, they, like Carson said, they're gonna use more of their class rank. And they're applying for their colleges in the first semester of their senior year, maybe even into their junior year. So they're coming down to our counselors already and kind of getting that information. This wouldn't be available, we would give a projected. Hey, you're projected to be a cum laude or a summa cum laude, but nothing would be official until about a week before graduation.
For Salvo, is it?
Val Sal, it's official after the 7th semester. Okay, yes, sorry.
Yeah, just sorry, a logistical question about ordering hoods and stuff. If you're not determining their commodity position until a week before graduation, how do you
Thank you
get
for bringing that up.
the right hood?
Yep, thank you for bringing that up. We as a school are gonna order these hoods and have them already. So that way we can go to the people and say, here's what you've earned. And then what we'll do is if somebody wants to keep that hood, it'll be available for a small fee, and really it's just a replacement fee, so we can order ahead of time for the next year. So that way, you're right, we're not trying to turn this around in 1 week. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes?
So currently, do students have to attend, like how it works for 5th through 8th semester for Val-Sal?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yep.
students who transfer in their senior year will not be eligible for any of this?
Correct. Yeah.
Is that pretty normal across all schools?
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on, Roman numeral 3D, public participation. Ms. Moyer handed hers in first, and so.
I prefer not to go first.
You prefer not to go first.
That is the Farmers Ed School as well.
Who wants to go first, Mr. Klein or Mr. Lamb?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So,
Oh, no, I'm sorry, no, you're fine, you're good. All I did was, I moved that we put a board discussion of the junior high issue later on,
Thank you,
so that we can publicly talk about what we hear.
thank you.
no, you're fine. Am I good to go?
Yes.
All right. So my name is Justin Klein. Thank you to the board for allowing me to speak tonight. I currently live at 2358 Farmersville West Alice Road, outside of Farmersville, but my wife and I own a property at 42 Iris Avenue, which is directly across the street from the current junior high. As a lot of us know, with the change and the plans, it sounds as if that the school district is not going to be responsible. And if I get any of these facts wrong, it's not on purpose, it's a mistake. For the demolition and the cleanup of the current junior high. I have some history with this topic. About 15 years ago, we were doing a school levy to build a new school. Sherry Parr was the superintendent at that time, and we had discussion actually over at, I believe, the intermediate building now. And I have an apology to make to Brian Eisenblatter. Brian Eisenblatter lives down the road as well in Farmersville. And he stood up and asked a question to the panel of the people that were discussing the new proposal for school. And he said, my biggest concern is that we pass a school levy. We have this brand new building and we let these buildings rot. He goes, specifically in Farmersville, he goes, this is where I live. And I said there, and I talked to him after. I said, Brian, there's no way that the community would do that to us. Because as a community, Farmersville and Germantown, we're in this together. We win state championships together. We win titles together. This is an us thing. And from the outside looking in now, I am slowly feeling like it's a Farmersville issue. And that's very concerning to me on a couple different levels, specifically with property values. As one of my rentals, that goes down. It's a great place to be right now because everybody wants to send their kids here. Nobody wants to rent a property next to an abandoned building. We all know what it looks like over in Preble, Gratis. Many of us remember what that building looked like over in Jefferson. Some of us a little bit more intimately than others. I am here just because of the fact, and I've heard people talk about what some of those answers could be. Selling the property off. My concern is once the school has handed that over, hey, we have done our part and I appreciate that. But I don't trust an outside organization. I trust our schools. You sell that company takes what they need, they dissolve, and now we have a pile sitting there. And we're waiting for years for it to be taken care of. I've been a staunch supporter of our schools, a staunch supporter of many board members, current and past. I have a lot of concerns, and right now I feel very
exposed in regards to trusting blindly that my school system would take care of my family, my property values, and now I'm kind of out here in limbo waiting to see what's going to happen. I just wanted to bring these concerns up, and with that, I just want to, anyone search my time? Appreciate it.
Mr. Lamb?
Yeah, so first of all, Nick Lamb, Mayor of Farmersville. So I feel like I'm speaking for a lot of people here. All the support and all the conversations we've had. But first, I'd like to say thank you to the board for having us, allowing me to speak. Welcome to the new board members. Tough job, I know that. A lot of time spent outside that nobody is aware of, and appreciate all of you for that. So I'll get into it. I wrote this out just so I don't ramble on like I just did, just to keep it concise. So I'm here because I want to reintroduce a topic we discussed just a little over a year ago. It's, the junior high building. And approximately a year from now, it will be vacated by students and faculty. Farmersville has discussed the available building with many potential suitors. And by Farmersville, I mean Village of Farmersville, and a lot of that's been in partnership with school district. Unfortunately, none of those suitors have been willing or able to make the property work successfully for their business. It seems clear at this point that the best result for the residents of Farmersville, especially the residents that own homes within an eye shot of the building, is for the building to be demolished. The last thing we want is for an old, dilapidated school building with trees growing out of it sitting in our village years to come. These buildings are not only an eyesore to the community, but become a nuisance property for local police and fire departments. So at this point, I'd like to back up a little bit and just present some history, just in case you didn't know. Every presentation made to the Valley View community by the school board leading up to the spring 2020 bond issue election included abatement and demolition of the old school buildings, including Farmersville. For many Farmersville residents, and I know that's a good fact just from conversation, it was a selling point for supporting the bond and voting yes. Now these same residents feel like the rug was pulled out from underneath them. And I'll add my personal opinion here, just based on these conversations. I think I know the reason that this latest board decision not to tear down the building has become so passionate and frankly just personal for some of the Farmersville residents. It's because just 4 years ago, it took the school board many meetings to convince the community that it was best for these buildings to go. It wasn't the consensus that we wanted the buildings to go in the first place. And once that decision was made by these individuals, and the decision I'm talking about is that their memories will remain in experiences, conversations, photos, not with the building themselves. They decided, you're right, it's time for them to go. It's for the benefit of the community, it'd be best to tear them down. And personally, I feel like I'm to blame for some of this. So I also believe that the district would demolish these old buildings. And I was asked by the district to be a part of helping the community see the future benefit of this potential green space. So I jumped on board. I believe that it would be the best thing as well. I met with community stakeholders. I met with the residents that live directly around the school. I met with local business owners, council members, and anyone else who wanted to meet with me. Overwhelmingly, the Farmersville community decided they wanted a low-maintenance patio-to-home neighborhood to replace that existing building. And who wouldn't love the idea? It's a site where residents attended school would eventually become a site where they could retire. That was the plan, of course, so the school district changed the plan with a vote in late 2022. Since that decision, as Justin alluded to, we've kind of been in panic mode. We've heard rumors of potential suitors that would not be good for our community, ranging from people that were just interested in scrapping everything inside and leaving the building to rot, to cannabis growth facility. I've talked with local community leaders from other Ohio communities left with similar situations as old school buildings. It's not good for anyone. I didn't hear a lot of good news. It's obviously bad for the community. Nobody wants a jumbo-sized eyesore. It's bad for police and fire stations. These communities regularly reported calls about vandalism and arson at these facilities. In some cases, communities reported cases associated with squatting and and drug use issues on these properties that have just never existed in their community. It's an empty building, it's big, it's open. And it's bad for the school district. Communities that traditionally voted yes for school levy started voting no. I think Justin alluded to this, it's just trust. So here we are again. After processing the decision to reverse the promise to demolish these buildings, we're here to ask for a couple things. First, we'd like to request a parcel off the land adjacent to the building, west, just the land, and provide that for the village of Farmersville to purchase. We feel that at least provides us some protection over what happens to the property, especially if you don't agree to the second request. So secondly, we'd like to request, just frankly and directly, that the school district commits to sending out the abatement and demolition of the junior high property. So before I close, I expect that many of you will say that it was not this board that made the promises to the community. And that is this board's responsibility to do what is right fiscally for the district based on the information from them now. And regardless of prior decisions. I would argue that this is the best financial decision for the school long term. And I'll just say, I don't even need to speak at this point because Justin alluded to this too. Just check Farmersville's voting records on school issues for confirmation. He said he's been a staunch supporter. If you just look at the numbers, Farmersville as a whole has been staunch supporter. And we want to be. I would also argue that decision isn't just about cost. So previous items with high priority on the board have passed without consideration of cost. I believe this to be true because the project was already known to be over budget when these adders were approved. Two high profile examples are the adder for decorative pitch roofs and the decision to upgrade the project to K-12. I also expect that we will hear from at least one board member that this is a district-wide problem and the solution should be shared by the entire district. And hear me out, I'm not saying that the community won't get behind that, but I do feel like the question should be asked. Do you think it's fair to ask the community to pay again for something they already paid for? Or at least something that was advertised and what they voted against to pay for? So that's all I have. But I'd also just, again, like to thank you for taking the time to hear us, to consider these concerns, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thanks, sir.
Hi, I'm Martha Moyer. I'm a resident of Farmersville. First welcome, Ms. Griffith and Ms. Wilson. You guys walked into a tough situation here, I'm sure. I just recently joined a small committee in Farmersville. It started with 3 people, and it's now up to over 25, I think. And what we decided we wanted to do was inform people in Valley school system what has happened. Because most people still think we're trying to renovate that building or sell it. Nobody seems to have any interest in purchasing it. It's expensive and it costs a fortune to keep the employees. Pretty good guess it's not going to sell. And I was told that if it didn't sell, it will go to auction, period. And whether it's true or not, I believe it is true, that we're in jeopardy of having an abandoned building. I think that's how most of these abandoned buildings have happened. As Justin had said, they take out one by the building and strip it and leave it abandoned. Personally, I'm right across the street from the school. It'll affect me a lot. It'll affect a lot of us. There's a lot of people here who live right on the street. We do feel abandoned, and we do no longer have any trust. We want to continue to have trust. I should speak for myself, actually. But I did hear this in the committee meeting, that we don't trust. And we do ask that you would consider this. We think it's the right thing to do. Money was on the books for next $1.5 million, and it was reallocated. The other buildings have not been reallocated that I know of. like Farmersville. We did decide to demolish one of the buildings for football parking lot. And I just, personally, I don't understand how the parking lot can take precedence over our buildings. We have less than 1,000 residents, and those 1,000 residents consist of women, men, seniors, and children. So the brunt of that falls on a lot less people than that. Quite honestly, we just can't afford it. So we're just asking that you consider this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and as we know, we will have some discussion on this later, and that won't be the last of the discussion. Roman numeral 4, approval of minutes. We need to approve the regular meeting minutes from December 11th, 2023. You should all have a copy in your board packet. Would someone make a motion that we approve those minutes?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 5, building project update.
So the project is on schedule. For some reason, tour season has stopped. No one's called me for a tour this week. So if anybody wants to come out and get a hold of me, I've got an open schedule as far as that goes. The first floor framing is all done. When you go into the elementary wing, all of the K-3 classrooms are laid out. You can actually walk into the rooms, see the size, see where the windows are, see all of that kind of things. The last air handler is scheduled to ship this Friday. I'll bring them all in, then we'll be able to start closing in all the big holes in the building, start actually getting it acclimated to the temperature and the low humidity. We have temporary heat in the building now. They've started putting the colored brick on the south side. It's under tents and scaffold. All of that, so you can't see it yet, but they are working on it. There's a lot of progress up there, running around 100 men a day. So, thank you.
Roman numeral 6A, financial report, approve the financial statements for the month ended December 31st, 2023. You have the attachment in your board handout. Someone make a motion that we approve the financial statements. Do we have a second?
Second.
Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
And Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral B, there's two of them here. We can do them both at once, I think. I recommend the board approve the then and now certifications. Valerie, for the folks in the room so that they know what we're talking about here, could you give a 5-second explanation of what a then and now is?
Yes, it is where we have an invoice that is dated prior to the purchase order in our system. And that becomes a then and now. And these are of an amount that require board approval.
And so I'm going to make a motion that we approve the two then and now certifications. One is to the law firm of Braden, Berger Graydon, and the other is to Montgomery County Education Service. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
And Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 6C, recommend the board approve a donation from the Valley View Junior Spartan Football to the Valley View Junior High School football program in the amount of $1,000 for purchase of updated equipment. I make a motion that we approve that donation from the Junior Spartans. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I will say thank you. It's always appreciated when people step up and do things that they don't have to. Valerie, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
And Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 6D, recommend the board approve 3 purchase orders to the Montgomery County Educational Service Center, Learning Center in the amount of, there's one for $50,000, $60,000, and $55,000, roughly totaling $167,000. Could you give us a quick rundown of what this is?
Yes, these are purchase orders that are required for the education of our children. They run through all of the steps through being what is best for the student educationally, and it is determined that the ESC is the best place for these students to be placed.
I make a motion that we approve those purchase orders. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
And Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7 or 6E, recommend the board approve the purchase order to Gordon Food Service in the amount of $100,000. Can you tell us about our $100,000 worth of food?
This is for our cafeterias, providing lunch purchases.
I make a motion that we approve that. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
And Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7, new business personnel. We are room numeral 7A, approved personnel action as recommended in attachment 3 of your board packets. So make a motion that we approve that personnel action.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7B, recommend the board approve the early graduation of Connor Wisman, who has met all graduation requirements. I make a motion that we approve that. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? How kids accomplish that in seven semesters is beyond me, but that's awesome. Congratulations, Connor. Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
And Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7C, recommend the board approve a stipend for educators who participate in the Ambassadors of Critical Thinking program, paid from Title II funds, the $1,000 stipend for 23-24, and $2,000 stipend for 24-25. Is something to motion to that effect?
We have just a little bit of discussion about, a little bit more detail about this particular program, just so people know.
Yes, what we're looking at, go a little deep in the weeds. We are given, in our state foundation funding, we are given certain funds for gifted spending. And we've been looking at that and the ways that we've spent our gifted funds last year, we cannot use for this year. So our gifted intervention specialist has been searching for programs that are allowable and has uncovered this program that both she and Nicole Thomas are very excited about, partially because it fulfills that gifted requirement, but also because all students will benefit from this and really critically thinking, enhancing critical thinking skills. And we have to have certain ambassadors among our teaching staff. And that's why the reasons for the stipend is a 2-year commitment.
Tyson has a motion, I'll make a second. Any further discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
And Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7D, board discussion of the Farmers Bill building issues. And so nothing on the agenda to vote on. But I would like each of you, if you care to share your thoughts on, like what things do we need to be thinking about? How do we want to approach this? And so if someone other than me would like to start, we appreciate it.
Could Valerie maybe give us an update on where we are? Because you mentioned something in your update about this topic.
Yes, and I'm sorry I didn't fire up my machine. I'm going to speak from the top of my head here. Mr. Schaller, if you could help me out. We, last year, when we were just getting started with the building, COVID had happened, 25% increase in production, in construction costs. We were really at a critical point in our building project. So in order to be able to continue the building project and make it happen, we were able to take the money that had been set aside for demolition of both Farmersville Building and Germantown Intermediate and apply that to the project. About approximately $3 million we were able to invest. At that time, we said, yes, we know we have to come up with a plan for both buildings. We will work to do that. But right now, we needed to kick the building project off before, because costs are not going to go down. They are going to continue to go up. So, so that was the reason why for the reallocation of the budget funds. Now, We still don't have a plan for either the Farmersville building or the Germantown building. We are continuing to look at every possibility. One of the places where we, as a school district, are kind of locked into, we have some constraints that we have to operate within by our state. We as a district can either keep the property, we can direct it to a municipality, or it goes to auction. Those are the school district's only 3 options that we can do. Municipalities have a much greater flexibility of what they're able to do. We cannot directly sell it to somebody. We cannot find a buyer. We can only go to auction with it. So does that help? Is there anything else?
Yeah, well, and we also had to, in addition to reallocating some of the money from the bonds that were sold, we also had to borrow money.
Yes, we did.
I mean, in a substantial amount.
Yes, we did.
With that backdrop, there are a couple of things, and you know, when I'm thinking through anything, I want to be consistent, and I want to be honest and transparent. And so, everyone who supported this because they wanted things to be better, right? And so, there are going to be so many things that are better. Some things are going to have to stay the same. No one should be worse off because this community supported the left, right? And where Farmersville finds themselves is they find themselves with the potentiality of being worse off. Right now, I see, and I'm sure there's more, and I'm not inviting everyone to give me the list, but I see our performing arts students are in a position where they will be worse off because of this course of action that was set in motion years ago, right? Because they're not gonna have a performance space. And so I'm thankful that we had some folks step up and met with the Performing Arts Committee sometime back. I think it was at the first or second meeting, and I said, I'll do what I can to try to get the board to support what they can. But we had some people that stepped up in that way, and that's a great thing. And they've already got their feasibility study ready to undertake. They've already funded that, and that's an awesome thing. And so this board is going to have to figure out how to help get that over the goal line, because we can't have a district with no performing arts space for our students. Another group of kids who stand to be worse off are wrestlers. They don't have a space at the new high school, and so they're tough. They're gonna walk across to the old high school in the snow. Maybe they can jog and consider it part of their training, but that's a consideration. But the people who are right there at the top, if not tied with our performing arts students and people in Farmersville. And as it stands, if the right decisions aren't made, you all will be worse off. And as a result of that, this entire district will be worse off, right? We're gonna have trouble if the values of Farmersville go down, the values of our tax revenues, and that's not what should drive everything, but come on, it matters. That's gonna be an issue. People aren't going to want to come here. And let's be honest about this. If everyone's biggest concern about what happens to Farmersville actually comes to fruition, you will never trust or believe anything that the Valley View Board of Education ever does ever again. So now what? And so we don't want to have anybody worse off. There's going to be lots of places where people are going to want things to be better. People are going to come to us asking us for money for things. And we're going to have to say no on a lot of things because we're already in this project more than what the community bargained for. And that's a bad spot to be in. So we take ourselves back to last year. We had to move forward with the bill, had to. I don't know if you recall, the end of 2021, I raised the question, can we just put the brakes on? And the answer was no. This was before anybody on this board was on the board. The answer was no. We'd already sold the bonds. They were sold as tax exempt. As soon as we don't spend them on the things they were sold to be spent on, they lose their tax exempt status, and this district is now open to liability for every investor who purchased bonds so that we could build this project. So stop the building project was never an option. So now what? Well, we can't halfway build the building. If we're starting it, we have to finish it. I mean, to start building something and then not be able to finish it is unthinkable. So we have to. So we've had to pull from some places we didn't want to pull from. I mean, we've had to leverage our permanent improvement funds. And that's kind of scary. I'm confident in the way that it was planned out. Again, this planning is after the fact. This planning is not before the fact. But when you get that number that says, here's what the cost is, at the first time that you can possibly get it, well, now you gotta make some, now you gotta react. And I don't like to be in reaction mode, but the fact is that's where we were, and that's where we kind of are still. My thinking on all of this is that it would be a moral failure for this district to not do right by people in Farmersville. That's my thought. I have no idea how we can do it. I don't know. But I also think there's a lot of smart people who we can figure this out. As soon as we sell, again, I'm not saying we're going to, as soon as we sell any of these buildings, that's out of our control. And so, personally, I'm not comfortable selling the Farmersville building. And because what you talked about, someone's gonna come in and scrap it. You know, I remember the trees growing out of the one in Jefferson. The building in Gratis is the thing of nightmares, complete with like giant clown heads and stuff. I'm not even kidding. Some of the ones at Carnival like stores their stuff there. My brother has a house, or had a house across the street from one of the Northmont schools in Phillipsburg. And it's been abandoned for years now. And it's horrific. And no one's gonna do anything about it. And if that happens to Farmersville, that's a bad thing. And so I'm not inclined to support selling it. Now, let's not forget, we have the same issue with Germantown. Same issue with Germantown, although it's a slightly different issue because, the discussions have been around selling it to an established private school, right? Now, let's not forget, should that go sideways and that school fall by the wayside, I would never expect it to, but if it did, we would not be in a position to do anything about it, right? And so the best the community could do would be to try to find a way to then buy it and do something about it. But I view the Germantown situation, the Farmersville situation very differently, just because of the potential interest on one end and the complete lack of interest on the other. And so you requested the land adjacent. I will tell you that I would support that 1,000,000%. So you had four asks. The land adjacent. Commit to abatement and demo. I can tell you that we're gonna have a lot of figuring out how to do it, and it might not be on the timeline people would want. But as long as it's ours, it's in our control. Right? So there's gonna have to be a lot of discussion, and we're gonna have to be crunching a lot of numbers, and we're gonna have to figure some stuff out. The third one wasn't an ask. You said it's not just about money. You're right.
Yeah, you said it.
Yeah. There was two asks and two statements. It's not just about the money. You're 1,000% right. This is not just about the money. This is about every one of those things that you raised. And lastly, you said you shouldn't be asked to pay twice. And so this board's got a lot of work to do to figure out, because this isn't the only thing we have to pay for. And we got a lot of work to do to figure out how to not come back to the district until the district knows that we're gonna be right by them. And so don't think for a minute, and I won't speak for anybody else on this board, don't think for a minute that I don't recognize exactly what's at stake here. And everyone who's spoken to it tonight, you all have spoken words that I can't refute at all. And so why would I try? And so I will tell you that this is not something that we're going to move quickly to come up with a solution, because right now, the biggest obstacle we have, other than the fact that we don't have millions of dollars laying around, the biggest obstacle we have right now is we still have a substantial number of unknown variables. Right? We've got a building project. We're set to be, they're set to be done September, walk through punch list stuff in October, and hand us the keys at the end of October. Is that where we're at? Mm-hmm. So that's the timeline. Over the next so many months, we are going to have a lot of questions answered, that we don't have answered right now. And I, for one, I like certainty. And the more certainty we have, the better decisions we can make. And so I will ask you, and I hear what you're saying about trust. I don't trust the government either, like in any capacity. And so you have reason to be concerned. Everything you were told, you're now being told the opposite. Everything you expected, you're now expecting something else. I bet if I took a poll of whether the people in this room think that this is actually going to be resolved in a way that you're happy with, most of you probably would say no. That's where we are. And so for this board to earn your trust, we're going to have to fix this. And I don't know how we're going to do it. But I'm committed to doing everything I can to figure it out. Yes, sir.
One comment, I think the board meets, try to decide what to do with the building. I think a representative of Farmersville needs to be on that.
That's not a bad idea. It also might not be a bad idea. It also might not be a bad idea if we form a board committee to liaison on this. That if we form a board committee that will create some regulatory obligations in terms of keeping minutes and reporting and all that. But I mean, what's that in the grand scheme of things? And so I'm not against having the board appoint 2 members so that we don't all have to be there. But appoint 2 members and have some folks from Farmersville on board, some stakeholders. We can involve people. We're not the smartest 5 people in this room. I mean, we might be, but we don't know, right? We're like, there are lots of really smart people in this community who are really willing and able to brainstorm and find solutions, and we have to be willing to do it too. And so that's what I have to say, and I apologize, I don't mean to monopolize this, I just have a lot of thoughts on it. Yes, sir.
Other question, Valerie, where does the new building stand as far as money wise? Are we over budget, under budget? Do you see any future?
Yeah, do we see anything from any reserve that we have or any margins?
Oh, we're not far enough along that I can say. We are not over budget. And I don't anticipate us being over budget, but whether we will be right at budget or under budget, that I'm not comfortable with.
So you don't foresee any future issues as far as adding costs at this point?
No, I really don't. What we have budgeted, we're, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Valerie, could you speak a little bit? I've heard some chatter too. I'm not big on social media. I know Tim, a lot of people know Tim on social media. I get on social media, I read every single comment. I don't get drawn into it. That's just not how I am. I prefer people to call me, talk to me. I'm always available, so just call. But if you can speak to, some people were talking about, why didn't we pull off the pitched roof? That could have saved us some money. And can you talk to about how far down the road we were and what that potentially would have done to the build and our obligations with our bonds, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, as far as at the time the decision was made about the roof, that is a foundational item. And you have to design that at the very beginning. And you can't pretty much, if you change that, then it's a complete redesign. And that would have put us, would have delayed the project. As far as the tax exempt status, is that, yes, we were advised by legal counsel exactly what Tim had said, is if we halt the project and we don't do this and we don't spend the money in the time frame that we committed to when we sold these bonds, we would have put the district at a risk of litigation by everybody who did buy the bonds as a tax exempt, because they would be no longer tax exempt. And those folks would owe taxes on that and they would not be happy at all.
Yeah, and we actually, the prior board, and when I say the prior board, the one that Bob and Stephanie and I were on, we actually raised that issue about, hey, can we back out the pitch roof? Because it was the board before us that approved that. And this was within a month or two afterwards, and it was already, our architects and our builders are like, you guys, we are too far gone. And just the hundreds of thousands of dollars just to do the reworking of the drawings right there, not to mention the delays in getting started and everything else. It really wasn't feasible. And so, and those were all.
And I can tell you right now, I absolutely do not want to see that Farmersville building be vacant. I was talking to Mayor Lamb the other day, and that is absolutely not anything that I feel is ethically the right thing to do. If like within the lottery, it would be a non-issue for all of us here. I don't gamble, but theoretically, it would be a non-issue. But no, in all seriousness, I don't want to leave any member of our school district out there thinking that we don't care or that we don't want to do the right thing, because we do. And it's just a situation where nobody could have predicted an international pandemic. Nobody could have predicted the significant increased cost in not just the materials, but labor. None of us could have predicted that. And it's sad. We've had to make a lot of cuts. We're probably going to have to make a lot more cuts. And it's a very uncomfortable position to be in as a board member, because no matter what you do, someone's not going to be happy. But please know that we truly do care. And we are really trying to do the right thing, not just for our students, but for our community.
So the 3 million that was taken from what they allocated in the buildings torn down went just for the pitched roof, is that what I'm hearing?
No.
No. Then why couldn't we back down on some of the building, back down to some of the building stuff? We did that.
We also went through a value engine, what OFCC calls a value engineering process, where we pulled everything out that was not at the OSDM, the right letters, OSDM base, meaning the OFCC will pay only for the lowest of the OSDM, and we backed down to the lowest OSDM.
And we were still that short.
Yes, the cost, I cannot.
Well, I understand that everything went up because everything went up.
I cannot express the position that we were in and the cost increase that we were facing.
And unfortunately, when it comes to building school buildings, it doesn't really work the way it would work in the private sector if we were building something. And you would have things pinned down. Right. You just simply can't have pinned down in this scenario. And it puts you in a bad spot. And the numbers we were talking about having to go borrow, astronomical. I mean, significant numbers that, we got a couple things going for us. And we were able to leverage some permanent improvement funds. And what that leaves us with, though, is a couple things. One, fortunately, there's a requirement that we put a certain amount of money back for permanent improvement no matter what every year, even while the school building is brand new. Right? So imagine you just build a brand new house, brand new everything, instead of waiting for something to break and come up with money. Like the law requires you to put money away for those improvements. And so that makes us less dependent upon some of the future money we were going to need. And so Valerie did a really thorough job. Did a great job presenting, and I'm sure you have those presentations you gave us. I don't think they're confidential or privileged.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah, I thought they were publicized.
I think they might be on the website. I'm not sure if they still are.
So if anybody wants to look at the phenomenal job that Valerie has done to help us navigate this, to get to the point where we actually have a building instead of half a building, it's out there. And so, but the numbers were shocking. Yes, ma'am.
What exactly, what is astronomical numbers that we had to put in that?
We experienced a 25% increase.
Yeah, so.
Cost increase from the time of the initial estimate to when our contractor gave us the estimate.
Yeah, it's everything from labor and to materials, and materials were the big one. I mean, it was supply chain delays, and just the cost of everything going up. And let's not forget, the world's cost didn't skyrocket for just the school district, it skyrocketed for everybody else too. And so now you all passed a levy and you're spending more money that you would rather keep for yourself, getting less for it. We recognize that.
I'm just wondering, why not another million to it? I know that sounds ridiculous, but not to us.
I understand.
Why not another million to it?
That will be something that we will need to carefully consider.
And then that spread between every resident of Valley View instead of just Farmersville.
Sure, if the school finds a way to come up with the money, that will be by definition funded by everyone. And so, which is why I think it needs to be a school problem, it needs to be a district problem, not a Farmersville problem. And the only way to control that, is to keep the building for ourselves while we work this out. And if someone comes along and says, hey, here's a quick $500,000, we would love it, I'm going to say no.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm good. Sounds nice. Yeah, here's your $500,000
No, I
for the
mean, it
building.
sounds good what you guys are saying. I'll believe it when I see it.
The proof of the pudding is in the
I think
eating, right? And until we do it, we haven't done it, right? We are what we do, not
we've
what
heard
we
this
say.
before.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I can tell you personally, I don't want to be the guy who said he was going to do something and didn't do it. I've made it 45 years of my life not doing that, and so I'm not going to start now. Anybody else have any thoughts they want to share on this?
If we're gonna start working on trying to find a solution, we probably need an updated estimate on what the cost of demolition is. That was the cost
changed
prior to, that was like on our original building cost. So if it's 25% or even more, we need to know what number we're actually shooting for.
Well, and also, a large part of the cost, the demo is not even the largest part of the cost, right? The abatement is the largest part of the cost.
We have some costs, so when we meet with that committee, those are numbers that can be shared.
So what I will do, it's not that, we're not doing anything before February, I guarantee it. And so, at the February meeting, I will make a motion that we establish a committee, and I will ask interested board members who want to be involved, and I will work with you directly, and you tell me who you would like to be involved, you're Mr. Mayor, and so you tell me who you would like to be involved through Farmersville, and I will commit to asking the board to establish that so that we can collaborate on this.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
We are almost to a point to where most of the variables will be known, but we're not there yet. And yes.
I appreciate everything that you're doing here, helping us, try to help ourselves. We've been to meetings before where we've heard your support, and we appreciate all the pretty words, but we want to see some action, and we want to know a plan.
Absolutely. Well, without us voting or anything, I will promise you that I will do everything I can to make it work.
Yeah, committee feels like a great first step.
Yeah, absolutely. I was so interested in this that I've lost my agenda. Superintendent comments. Mr. Schultz.
Well, I'd like to say, we are trying to do the best job we can with what we have. I mean, we're somewhat in the same boat you guys are, because you were told things that there's no way it could possibly happen. You had meeting after meeting after meeting, which was really a waste of time. Should have got the building started as soon as possible. We wouldn't have half of this problem. But we're trying to do the best job we can for you. And I think it's going to be very nice. It's not going to be the couple of schools. It's going to be an average school. So I just want to say we're working as hard as we can. You've got people who do care and want to do the best job for our teachers, for our students, and for you at all levels. I'll make my comments real quick. Over Christmas break, the custodians came in and worked real hard to get the buildings clean. We are spraying the buildings every night because of a disinfectant, because of different viruses that we do have in the district and we have it everywhere. Also, the maintenance fellows came in. It was it was a nice vacation because there was no boiler that went out, no freezer went out. And it was kind of quiet until this week. And now it's starting up with the cold and so forth. So other than that, I'd like to thank them for the hard work. We do, it just, I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, for instance, but I do know that our bus people, Mike Ellington, has people coming in about 4 o'clock, 4:30, starting all the buses up. Of course, like today, we told them to shut them off. And I'm not gonna say what it's gonna be tomorrow. So, we'll make that decision probably later tonight, if not tomorrow morning. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Board member comments. Let's start down here with you, Alan.
I'll just like to say congratulations to the new members, and I'm excited to be working with you.
Tyson?
I kind of want to say something about the Farmersville stuff. It boils down to, I love this place. I don't have to be here. I chose to be here. I love this place. I love the people. I love my neighbors. And it is, 2 hours ago, I wasn't in this seat, to do the best that I can. I've been upset about the trust from years ago. I know that people are never gonna vote for another levy until we earn the trust. So, the Farmersville people, I get it. We can't do nothing about that. And I can't promise it, but I will do everything I can to make sure that problem gets resolved. And all these little problems along the way, I'm happy to help, and that's why I chose to be here.
So, yeah, I'm not gonna reiterate, my statement about the Farmersville, building, but definitely, I wanna do the right thing. And I believe the right thing is to make sure that we find a way to, demo and abate. I do worry about selling it and somebody stripping it and leaving it. I think that's very much a high likelihood that would be the case. We just have to see exactly how we're gonna be able to do that. I want to congratulate, Connor Wisdom for graduating early. That's a pretty fabulous feat. And congratulate Tyson and Shavella. Looking forward to working with you guys.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Tyson Shavella, I'm very excited to have you on the board with us. You're both, I commend you for what you bring to the board. And I think that, I'm very thankful for the way that Joe and Valerie have stepped into their roles as superintendent and treasurer. People might not know this story, but when our prior superintendent left, and we began the process of thinking, well, what now? Because it was in June when we got that resignation. And if you know, superintendent hiring season is not June. You are so far behind, you think you're in first place if you're hired as superintendent in June. And we had some great candidates. I made a phone call to Mr. Schuller, who had not applied. And I'm on my way to Florida with my family. He's on the way to Myrtle Beach with his family. And I said, I hear you're the man who built Mississinawa Valley's school. And I hear you're the man who built Arcanum's school. And I would love to have someone interested in helping build a school who's built a school. I was thrilled when he said he'd be willing to do it. I was thrilled when the board unanimously said, yeah, this guy can get us through this. And so I have the highest confidence in him. And please understand, he's not a novice. He is where we are. And I know sometimes when things aren't going the way you wanted it to go, you see the negatives. We are so better than we should be, given all that came our way over the last 3 years. And a large part of it is due to that man right there. And so I'm very thankful. Valerie, to be a school treasurer, you have to be insane. I don't know what type of person steps into that role.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I can say good things too, but that's a good thing. You have to be a special type person. The things you have to care about, the number of plates you need to keep spinning, and you can't take your eye off of anything for more than a split second because there are deadlines, there are requirements, there are filings, not to mention the fact you got to figure out how we're going to pay for everything. And she has been amazing guiding us to where we are. And I have the absolute, this is going to put some pressure on you. I have the absolute confidence in your ability to help us guide to where we need to be. And so, I know that's long for school board member comments, maybe not for mine in particular, but, I would be remiss if I didn't highlight that these two people that we have hired, that's the primary role of the board. 3 roles: set policy, hire a superintendent, and hire a treasurer. And I'm very thankful for the ones that we have.
Just to highlight this again, I want to thank the Junior Spartan football team for their donation. This isn't the first time they've done that. They've done that for a number of years now. Also like to welcome the 2 new board members. Look forward to working with them. As many of you know, I live just outside of Farmersville, and I spend most of my time in Farmersville rather than the other towns nearby. So I very much am concerned about making sure that that building gets taken care of correctly. And when it comes down to it and we get the committee ready, I'd be very willing to serve on that committee.
So, as far as the Farmersville building goes, I can say that I don't make promises that I can't keep. So whatever's presented to me as fact, the best option that we have, that's that I will go with. All of you guys will be at the forefront of that decision. So, I have born and raised in Germantown, small community, so that's how we want to keep it. We want everything looking good. I understand that. So, I don't make promises I can't keep. So once we have, options available and we can go over that, that's what I'm here for, is to help not only the students, but the community as Germantown and Farmville as a whole. It's not one or the other. So it's everybody.
All right, sir.
Kind of what everyone else said, congratulations to Tyson and Chevelle. I look forward to working with you both. And I kind of just wanted to revisit the proposed new model of senior recognition. A lot of people seem kind of concerned about how that would affect our seniors as they're applying to college. And I'll say, as a soon-to-be semester senior who applied to college in the fall, I don't see many problems with it. I don't see anything that would affect it in a negative manner. As long as class rank data is still available to students. Yeah, because when you apply, it usually asks for your GPA and your class rank. So GPA will stay the same. And then class rank, that'll still be recorded. So as long as that's available, there wouldn't be much of an effect. So I kind of just wanted to reassure everyone.
All right.
I can kind of touch base on what he's talking about. Because I'm currently pursuing my bachelor's degree for business, and the university that I attend is on the same scale. So that is what's becoming known as the grade point average system. So I believe that if that is put into play, you won't have too many concerns, because I've experienced it for myself the last couple of semesters. So.
All right, we have one more item on the agenda. We have an executive session, Roman numeral 10, executive session to discuss negotiations. And so what we're going to need to do, we will go into executive session. We'll make a motion to go in. There will not be any more board business done after executive session. And so if you really want to stick around to watch us adjourn at some indeterminate time, feel free. If you like to leave now while we are making a motion going into executive session, and I think the people have spoken. All right, I make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss negotiations. We have a second? Bob seconded it? Okay, well, I'll wait to vote until everybody's
And if you haven't, apologize.
Yeah, we're gonna go into the room. Valerie, would you call the roll? Yes. Sorry, Kathy. We just wanted to go take care.
No, you're good. No, you're
How was your trip? It was great.